Hey guys and girls, it's Blackjack with 396 Guitars. We have a vintage Gibson ES-120t on the bench today, and it is a weird guitar. Initially, when you look at it, it won't seem so, but I'm going to explain to you what we're doing. Let's get to work. Remember, if you dig what I'm doing, like and subscribe. So, yeah, it's an ES-120t. What the T stands for, I'm not 100% sure, but this is pretty much the way the guitar came to me. It had some strings on it. It was holding it's a floating bridge and saddle assembly. Now, I have been spending most of my time with this particular project just doing some research. It took me a hot minute to find out what kind of there's no output jack over here. Obviously, there's no pickguard on it, and normally you would see on like an ES-335 or something semi or hollow body, there would be a bracket and a pickguard here. Not the case with this particular guitar. I'm going to try to explain. Original route. There are some holes, several in the body that have been filled. I have the tailpiece taped down and protecting here and taped down. The pick guard came around right here, went down in this fashion around where the bridge is, came around here, back up through here and around, and it was raised off of the body because that was literally the control plate. Your wires came through here from the pickup. This is an original pickup route, and the wires went over, came up, and there was a volume and or tone. I'm not 100% sure if this one had a tone or not, but the controls were there, and the output jack was in the raised. It was probably that tall, and it sat up above all of this, and the wires kind of went from there down through there to the pickup, if that makes any sense. Took me a while to figure that out, and of course, we would like to have one of those pickups more, one of those pick guards more than anything. It's a pick guard / control plate. I would like to have one of those more than anything, but unfortunately, that is not in the cards because my research also turned up a lot of people who have modded these things because it was a very rare guitar for the time, and it was kind of experimental with that kind of system on it. Therefore, those pickguards are not available. There are none floating around. I found one on an online selling format. We all know what it is, but I'm not going to advertise them. And that was 5 years ago, and it sold for like $250, and it supposedly had the pickup and the control pots and everything in it, which sounded really cheap for such a rarity, but it was on there. I researched it. It was on there for like a minute, and somebody snatched it up. So I can't find them anywhere. What I did find was a lot of people who have, kind of like me, who have modded these things to play. Most of them took it to the point where they would route this out bigger to accept a humbucker in there or a dog ear P90 type pickup. It's wider than it needs to be. It originally had a single coil in there, and my initial mock-up is going to be something like this. And yeah, that's exactly what it is. What you think it is what it is. And something to that effect. If you follow, everything is going to be underneath. The wires will come up here. That'll be our output jack. That'll be our volume. Now, this is just a mock-up, and I sent this to the client. He's mulling it over. We don't know for sure. It took me a couple of nights sleepless nights thinking about what to do here, because I absolutely do not want to drill an output jack over here, and I could easily modify this and put you know, a nylon plate or a cover on there and put just a volume pot there and then drill in here and put an output jack. We could do that. I really don't want to drill any more holes in it than I absolutely have to. As it is, with this, if this ends up being the way we go, that Gibson pickup ring with the Fender single coil in it will work beautifully. And it hides most of the route, but we won't have to dig that out. And the only holes will be pinholes to put the screws in for that. And the same thing here. And by the way, this is a pickup ring as well. But it's raised up just enough that I can put a mini pot in there, I believe, and an output jack will actually will have enough room to stick down in that hole, thusly. I just have to contour this pickup ring to kind of accept that. Yeah, to follow the contour of the body. It just needs to be massaged a little bit so that it sits on there better and it doesn't kind of wobble like that. I don't want that, obviously. I'm hemming and hawing whether or not to use this bridge and saddle. I think a traditional, being that we're going with this kind of pickup, I think a traditional Tune-O-Matic will be better on there. This is wooden, and it's 60 years old, and it's probably brittle and as fragile as it can be. But I might just put that on there to start with. So I've marked it here with a little bit of pencil, just so I know. I do that on every guitar that I get with a floating bridge like that. I always mark it either with a little bit of blue tape, or in this case, I use just a pencil to mark it. I'm just as sure as God made little green apples. This is probably nitrocellulose finish, which is going to be really fun not to clean up. Today's exercise is going to be basically, I'm going to take the tuners off. I'm going to get the tailpiece off. Somebody's got a sheet metal screw holding that in. We're going to obviously repair that and fix it correctly. I'm going to get the tuners off. They are, you know, old style inline. I believe they're a type of deluxe tuner. I think they say deluxe on them. They do. And I have tried them all. They all work easily and freely. So all I'm going to do is take them off and clean them up a little bit. The patina is going to stay. I'm not going to try to turn them into polished, perfect pieces. That's not what the idea of this. This is a soft restoration. We're not, you know, we're not going too far with it. But it's going to get everything. And when I get done with it, it's going to look as a million times better than it does now. There are just stains. This guitar was played a lot. There is fret wear. I'm not afraid of that. We're going to clean it up. Obviously, we're not going to refret or do anything like that, or level or crown or anything. There is decades of human DNA embedded on the top of the fretboard. We're going to meticulously try to clean that off. Do a fret dressing on it and oil the board. Clean up the headstock, and this is aluminum. I'm going to try to polish it up as much as I can because it's very pitted in this area and down through here. It's almost like something attacked it here. But the rest of it is nice and smooth. It just needs to be cleaned and maybe polished a bit. It's aluminum. It should come back up as much as it can. So first thing I want to do is get these out of here. I'm going to take the tuners out. I'm going to take the tailpiece out. The guitar actually, aside from, you know, decades, you know, it's a 60-year-old guitar. 1963 is the date from the serial number. So it's 62 years old, 61 years old, whatever. Pretty cool. We're going to take these out. And I'd like to save even the screws, but I don't know if they're all original. They rarely are. But mostly the guitar looks to be in really good shape. I think somebody played with a ring because there's a lot of striations right here, like as if they had a ring on. Yeah. And, I'm not going into repairing finish. This is going to be a soft restoration to preserve as much of the look of the guitar and the character of the guitar as we can. But we're going to get all the decades of gook off of it and shine it. And the key is to, the objective is to make it a player. Make it a player. And we take this out because why? Because you can't clean it correctly. And a guitar of this age without taking them out. Well, it says made in Japan, so these are aftermarket. It says made in Japan right on it. I don't think 1963 they were putting Japanese parts on it. This one says made in Japan. So, yeah, they were probably, these kind of tuners failed left and right back in the day, and they still do. Not my favorite type of tuner. I do not think they're original to the guitar because made in Japan. This guitar was very likely made in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Would be my guess. That would be my guess. Are these bushings going to agree with me, or are they going to disagree? Pop right out. That one's glued in. That one's glued in. So they are not going to agree. Somebody very foolishly glued those two in, probably because they were not staying in. And the right way to do that is to put a piece of wood underneath there. They glued them. I'm not going to hammer on. A lot of things have probably happened to this guitar over the years, I'm sure. We'll be able to clean around those two, I guess, the best we can. Off camera, when I first evaluated this guitar and I accepted the job, as soon as I got it here, one of the first things I did after I took the old, I don't know how many years old strings, there was only a couple and they were all wonky. I got after that because this guitar could be quite a little bit of time without string tension on it. So I made sure that worked, and it does, and I flattened the neck, straightened it. So, yeah. So first things first, let's just see how badly this thing is gonna, how badly is it gonna cloud up on me. Usually nitro, when you put a cleaner like this on it, it will instantly go cloudy from years of buildup, wax buildup. And when I say wax buildup, it's, yep, that's exactly what it did. It went cloudy. When I say wax buildup, that's human sweat, cigarette smoke, could be anything. Usually it's just from atmosphere. Stuff gets on there and it embeds into the nitro, because nitro never really cures 100%, and stuff gets in it, and it likes to stay in it, and it embeds in it, and that's why I hate nitrocellulose. I wish this was a Fender because they're far easier to clean, but I'm not afraid. So what I do is take a little bit of this guitar polish from, this is my favorite product for this, and get a close-up of what that looks like right now, how dull it is. I'm thinking it's probably, and you can see underneath where you can see the shadow underneath. That's what we're aiming for. Hopefully it'll come up where the truss rod cover was. And we're going to do just a little spot first. And this stuff, you have to go a little section at a time. I'm going to pick a spot right in the middle where it's easy to do. You put it on and you wipe it off. And instantly, if you do it a little bit at a time, you can see what it's going to come up to. You see up here where my thumb is, how shaded it is, and how nice and shiny and clean it is. We just took off decades of whatever was on there and got it off. And you have to work in small increments, because if you go too much at a time, you'll end up taking it from here and putting it back over here. Fun stuff. So I'm going to finish doing just the headstock. I'll be right back. So you can see the painted surface of the headstock now. You can't see the shadow where the truss rod cover was. And that's as good as that's going to get. It's not going to ever look new again. It's got a lot of nicking, a lot of checking in it, but I like that. That means character, but it's clean now. Okay, all the gook is off. You know, I went through probably 2 or 3 of these rags, and off camera, it took about a half an hour just to clean it up like that, because you usually have to do it 2 or 3 times. And I also did this little corner right here, and I'm sure the camera will pick up on that. You see how shiny this area right here is, and how dull and nasty it is here. And you think, oh yeah, just spray it and clean it. No, it doesn't work like that. If you spray and clean this now, all of this stuff will come off, and it'll go back over onto the part that's clean. So half an hour just to do those 2 little spots. So you see what's involved in cleaning this up and getting it back to whatever glory it's going to show. Hours and hours. It's meticulous, and you can only do a spot about that big at a time, because all you end up doing, you have to put it on. Basically, it's a pretty quick procedure, but you can only do a little section at a time. You have to put a little bit on, like so. And you circular motion, and then a clean part of the rag, and the same thing. And that should take off all of that crap. If you try to go too much at a time, it's a little tobacco stain, gook, human DNA, sweat, stuff gets on there, and you get down to the real finish, right? So little spots all the way, then the sides and the back, and by the way, back here and back on the neck. It just takes a long time to do it. And if you try to rush it, all you're going to do is keep smudging the part that you just got clean. You're going to take this crap and move it over here. So be mindful that, you know, if you ever attempt it. And it's with nitrocellulose. Gibson uses that. Other manufacturers use it too. I don't like it. I like poly finishes, like what Fender would have, because stuff gets on there, and you can literally clean it with just a spray-on cleaner. You know, a spray-on cleaner or a little naphtha will loosen whatever's on there and take it off. This stuff reacts. Nitrocellulose never, ever fully cures. 100%. Yeah, so I digress. Now, I am going to remove this on camera just to show us taking the rest of the hardware off. And plus, I don't want it on there because I have it taped, and I don't want to leave tape on the finishes as much as I can. Luckily, it won't need to be on there for too long. Big ass sheet metal screw holding the tailpiece on back here, or not the tailpiece, the strap button. And it's a really big screw, and it doesn't need to be that big, so we may be filling. That's the screw they put in, and it's a sheet metal screw. You can see the head. That's not a guitar style screw. of any shape or manner. It would take, for that strap button, which is probably original, it's got to be beveled. This isn't. It's a flat head. It needs to be a beveled screw to go in there correctly. And the threads alone are too aggressive. They're big, fat, wide wood screw or sheet metal screw threads. Garbage. In fact, that's exactly where it's going, is in the garbage. I have a feeling I'm going to end up filling that hole at some point in this process, and because the tailpiece will actually cover it. That's where we just took the strap button out. So I will probably fill that hole with some dowel and then re-drill it, get it off nice and clean. The tailpiece beauty part here, the beauty ring, will cover that. And then the new screw will have perfect virgin wood to screw into. And I take my time. This is not like doing a setup. This is a completely different animal. When you're working with an old instrument, you really want to take care and go as slow as possible. Could accidents happen? Absolutely. There's no question that if it can go wrong, it will. But if you take your time and go really, really, really slow, you can minimize your risk factor. So I like those screws. They look original. There's actually a ground wire there. I'm glad to see that, because I don't know what else is in there. So for more forensic investigation is needed. I was hoping there would be a ground wire there, because I'm going to have to ground the circuitry once I put this thing back together. And that could be a very tricky procedure. Where are you and what are you doing in there? There is, yep, something there, a big piece of wire that is really small F-hole. I'm going to have to snip it. I don't think it would be connected to anything else. It's just a piece of wire with some sheeting on it. I don't imagine that it's original, but it's possible. I guess it's original. That's why it doesn't want to come through the hole. It gets right there and sticks. Huh. And I can hear it flopping around in there, so yup. You gotta get rid of that. We're gonna need it later, but I may try to leave this original wire on there. I don't know why there would be a spliced up wire onto it, though. At some point, you never know what the guitar is like. You know, who's worked on it, who's done what. It could have had some sort of an issue at some point. Let's put that aside. Let's see if we can't get whatever wire is left there. It's attached to something in there. That could be tricky. All right, where are you? Where are you? Alright, I'm going to pause here because I have to figure out where that wire is and what it's trying to hang up on. It's probably got some sort of a clasp I'm never going to be able to see or find. Looks like it's just a piece of wire hanging in there. Stand by. Yep, It looks like a 60-year-old piece of wire. There's something soldered here. This is the piece that came out to the tailpiece, and this obviously went over to the control. It was just this little piece of wire holding it up there. Yeah, we're going to have to, that's going to be fun, fishing wire through there, but it's not as bad as it seems. It's not the funnest job I do, but it happens. Got to do it. Piece of vintage wire. All right. Don't need that on there anymore. So the last little thing that we're going to show in this portion, this is just a get acquainted video with the instrument. I'm not going to be able to do this all in one spot. You know that. You know that. What I'm going to do is try to illustrate the decades of stuff that are actually on the fretboard. Let's get back over here where we're working. Centered a little bit. It looks like it's just the wood is worn, but all those striations that you see going like this, that's actually skin, sweat, oil, and it gets glued, and every guitar does that. If they're not cleaned on a regular basis, you'll never catch any one of my basses ever looking like that. Some of it is, the camera will never pick up on it, but some of it's like sticking up. I mean, it's ridges. And I take a one-sided razor blade and I very carefully, I'm going to pick a spot right here. You're not trying to take any wood off. What you're doing is pulling all of that dead skin right there, and there's this especially big chunk of stuff right here. As old as this stuff is, I'm taking it off first, and it's been on there for so long that the wood underneath is a different color. And that, you can see right there, the stuff that's skin, sweat, oil, stuff gets on there as years of playing, and it sticks to the fretboard. Now, that's how I'm going to get the big chunks off, and it's in the money zone right here. It looks like he did a lot of playing right here, and the fret wear proves it. It goes, the fret wear down to right in that money zone. Yeah. Guitar saw a lot of action. Now, that's the first part. Really, the way I usually do this first is to spray down the board with a cleaner and then scrub it. This is what we're going to do. And whatever's left, then I will sit here meticulously with a single blade razor and just scrape off the other stuff. Some of it will loosen. Some of it won't. Some of it will, some of it won't. Circular motion. I'm not going to do the whole fretboard, you know, cleaning the frets, polishing and all that stuff, because that's going to take quite a bit more work. I just wanted to show how I just clean the board, and that sometimes even this procedure with a brush, a light, really soft brush, is not going to get all that cleaned off. But it will loosen it, and it will make it easier for it to be removed. Some of it will come off. But when you get done doing this, it will show you where all the real crud is. It literally stands out. Like that. You can see all of this stuff right here. That's the stuff that we got to get off the wood. Right there. That's not stain. That's goop. That's on top of the fretboard, and it needs to come off. And once it's loose, you just kind of go in there very carefully. And don't press hard. It will peel off. It will peel off. And your finger will tell you where it is. Like this is really sticky and gooey. There's still some right over here. Yeah. So you see how meticulous and time consuming this is going to be. Well, when you get done doing it this way, you have to turn around because now there's going to be some left right by that fret right there, and you have to clean that off. And everywhere all that crap came off, the wood is lighter underneath. Right there. That one's nice and clean. If there's any little bit left, the next time I spray it and brush it, it should come, whatever's left there will be loose enough that it'll come right off. Right there, that fret, right there, we just cleaned. And the one next to it, you see all that shit right there? That's what we're taking off. Because it's not what you think. It's not wood. It's not wear in the fretboard. It's years and years and years of tobacco smoke, goop, air conditioning, finger, skin, oil. That's what all that crap is coming off of there. That one's bad, that one. And it tails off, and there's hardly any down here, almost none. Very little, and then it starts building up right here. And all of these up here have some. Some of it is like this. Right there is a big divot in the fretboard here. All of these from playing so much. This guitar got used a lot. And it's going to get used again a lot. So I think we're going to stop there. You can see what we did in some of the processes. I've shown you 3 different things that we're doing. Be careful. Somebody glued those in. You can't keep hammering on that. Sooner or later something's going to break. Leave them in there, work around it. But everything else is out of the guitar now. And now I have a clean surface to work with, an empty canvas, as it were, to get it up to where I want it to be. And we're going to clean this fretboard. And then eventually, there's going to be a whole procedure where we polish up these frets and then oil this board. And when we finally get to oiling that board, that's going to be a big aha moment, because this wood will come right back to life. We just got to get all this crap off of it. We're going to stop there. That's part 1. of the ES-120t. Look it up. You'll learn a little bit like I did. Pretty interesting instrument, and I'm honored that the client trusted me to get this guitar back up to playing quality. It may not be like it was when it was brand new, but you'll see when we get done with it, it's going to be nice. We'll talk soon, and remember, if you dig what I'm doing, like and subscribe, and by all means, share.